All right, the schedule is coming out slowly but surely. We know Dallas is going to be on TV. We know Kansas City is going to be on TV. How about Detroit? They're going to be on TV a lot too, according to somebody. We'll talk about that and more here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team
every day. It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. And we thank you for making us your first listen. I'm joined today by David Harrison, of course, my Wednesday guest, host, as always, Locked On Commanders. We've got a good show for you today. Hopefully, wherever you listen to your podcast, you won't miss an episode, whether you watch or listen. In fact, tap in so you do not miss an episode of the show. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Shout out to the everydayers also. And if you're new, welcome to Locked On NFL. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to use clips from around the Locked On NFL network to have as a little bit of a help piece for our segments here. We're going to disagree and agree with those guys, as we always do. We're going to start talking about rookie quarterback watch in Nashville and Cleveland. What's going on with Nashville's schedule, who they play first, and who will be the quarterback in Cleveland based on this weekend. Both of those young guys can really, really play. Trey Hendrickson goes off, and David Harrison is going to go off with him, talking about Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals as we have all season, and I agree 100% with Trey Hendrickson about that. We're going to start, though, with the release of the schedule. Are you surprised at all, David, that I mentioned Dallas, Kansas City, and Detroit as the third team?
No, I mean, when it comes to the Detroit Lions, so the thing about the Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of when teams lose their coordinators, that's not a small issue. And, it doesn't always have to go disastrously. Like with the Philadelphia Eagles a couple of years ago, we saw them lose both their coordinators. Nick Sirianni was, directionless, didn't know what he was doing, and almost lost his job because of it, and then had to go out and find two guys, Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, who don't need their hands out. They don't need a head coach. They are head coaches. Vic Fangio has been a head coach, could be a head coach again. I don't know that he'll ever get an opportunity, but, he could be a head coach again. Kellen Moore obviously was a head coach in waiting. He ends up head coach of the New Orleans Saints, right? So Nick Sirianni, basically, his job was to high-five fans, apparently cuss out fans every once in a while, and give, buzz clips in press conferences. And, hey, if that's all the Eagles are looking for in head coach, I'll be your next head coach. I can do all that stuff.
We can do that good.
Trust me, I can cuss out some Eagles fans.
Cuss out anybody. That's right.
But, the Detroit Lions, on the other hand, however, have what we believe to be a true leader of men, right? Dan Campbell is the kind of guy that you don't ever expect him to be lost without a paddle anywhere. Like, you could put him in a boat in the middle of the ocean without paddles, and somehow he would still not be without paddles, right? Like that's the kind of dude that Dan Campbell appears to be. This is really going to be the first year, I think, where we really have to see if that's true, because if this offense takes a little bit of time to get started, if that defense takes a little bit of time to get everything together, it's not enough to just have good players. Every NFL team has good players. Make no mistake about it. Every team, even the Tennessee Titans, they have NFL quality players. Yes. It's how you put them together. It's how you put the pieces together. That's what the Detroit Lions have been really good about over the last few years. I remember when Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted, Wig. Remember that? Everybody's like, oh, they're crazy. I can't believe he went that high. What are you talking? It was a one-back year where it's supposed to be one running back in the first round, nobody else. They went Jahmyr Gibbs high, and guess what? The way they use him, the way they incorporate him into the offense, the way he accentuates, they turned him into a force multiplier. He's not just a ball carrier. He's not just a receiving back. He is a force multiplier. That matters. How that changes now with the new coordinators, to me, is going to be a really big test. Going on the road, reportedly, quote unquote, to face the Green Bay Packers in week 1, that is a big opening day test for this new Detroit Lions coaching staff. So we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah, it's a new and old coaching staff. And the reason why I say that is because they promoted Kelvin Shepard, dude that I had the opportunity to be introduced to. They promoted Kelvin Shepard, and then they brought back John Morton, who he hasn't been there since they've had their success, but he is really, really given a lot of credit for their success, for the success that they've had, because he was there helping Ben Johnson install everything. Listen to Matt Derry talk about how giddy he is about the schedule being released and the fact that the Detroit Lions are going to be a big part of the national schedule.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman went on Good Morning America on ABC, and they were on there to announce that I think it's the Week 10 Monday Night Football game is going to be Green Bay and Philadelphia. And Robin Roberts was talking to Joe Buck and asked him what to expect from some of the games, in prime time that fans are going to see. And Joe Buck said, quote, "You're going to see the Cowboys, you're going to see the Chiefs, and you're going to see the Lions. All of a sudden, every network wants the Lions," which is to their credit. They've turned it around. Troy and I used to do Thanksgiving in Detroit every other year. It's like, oh my God, we're in Detroit. Now it's like, oh my God, we're in Detroit. We get to watch the Lions, end quote. How about that? Every network wants the Lions. How about that?
How about that, Matt? They do want the Lions. I think they play a very entertaining brand of football. The question I have about the Lions, and I'll end it with this, is they beat up on everybody, including themselves. Did they beat themselves up to the point where their physicality got all of their players put on injury reserve, and maybe that hurt them a little bit last year?
I mean, you can make that argument, right? But again, I just go back to the physical brand of football. How much of that is going to stay with these new coordinators? You know what I mean? Like that's the big question that I have. And again, I believe Dan Campbell is the tone setter in Detroit. So
no doubt.
He's not going to hire an offensive coordinator that doesn't play that brand of football. He's not going to hire a defense coordinator that doesn't doesn't play that brand of football, right? So, and I know there's some continuity in that coaching staff still, so we don't need to make it too big. But again, it's just been an issue before. What I really hesitate about, Wig, that I'm gonna, because I know we have a couple more minutes that I'm gonna let loose, is this Dallas Cowboys thing. And I talked about this on Locked On Commanders recently. This is not a Cowboys hate thing, okay?
Yeah.
It is only because the Dallas Cowboys are the team that gets crammed down everybody's throats every single season, no matter what is going on. And don't get me wrong, they have been a playoff contender for years. They've been to a lot of playoffs, right? So let's not pretend like the Dallas Cowboys have been this like really bad team. But guess what? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had Tom Brady, went to the playoffs 3 years in a row, won the Super Bowl, 4-time NFC South champs, and they're not getting crammed down our throats the way the Dallas Cowboys are, who haven't done any of that in the last 5-10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like the Dallas Cowboys, again, they have the biggest fan base, and that's the reason it's happening is because of that. But I think that the opening week game specifically, like if you want to put them on Sunday Night Football week 1, Monday Night Football week 1, okay. But to put them in the opening game of the year, like that wasn't always on Thursday night. Remember that. That's actually a relatively new thing. So you isolated that opening night game and you said this game is special. If that game is going to be special, it needs to have a qualifier. It has a qualifier for the hosting team. You have to be the Super Bowl champs, right? Super Bowl champs are the hosting team of the opening night game. The visiting team should be a playoff team. And I'm not even saying it should have been the Commanders. I would have loved to see the Commanders do it. The NFC Championship game rematch, would have loved it. But it could have been the Lions, right? The Lions are on their schedule. Go ahead. Like everybody said, the Lions were the best team in the NFC. The Commanders just caught them on a good day. Okay, fantastic. Prove it. Lions go into Philly and beat them in week 1. Like,
yep.
I think what this is, honestly, is the NFL's way of saying we're going to make the biggest fan base in the league happy. And guess what? Everybody, you're going to watch this game anyway. Because truthfully, as annoyed as I am, I'm going to watch that game. Yeah, you're going to watch that game. Everybody who hates the fact that it's the Cowboys getting that first game of the season is going to watch that game.
The NFL
ain't disrespectful from the NFL to make that the situation that it is.
Yeah, but I know what they're doing. They know a lot of fans want to watch Dallas play. Everybody ain't watching them to win. One of the reasons Floyd Mayweather made so much money is because people wanted to see him get knocked out. And I think Dallas is the team that
you love to hate him.
people love to hate him and people love to see him lose, man. And when they've lost in spectacular fashion over the last few years. So put me down as one of those people that love to see them.
Look, I can't lie. Watching Dak Prescott run too far with the clock running so that they couldn't stop the clock at the end of the game, that actually was one of the most entertaining moments that I've ever watched.
One of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life, man, and I ain't going to even lie about it. I was going to sit here and agree with you. I'm like, hell no, put Dallas on so we can watch him get beat again. All right, man, look, we was going to talk about Travis Hunter. We'll push that off a little bit later. We got to talk about Trey Hendrickson, man. Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals. We've been talking about them, it seems like, all off season. My man Jake Liscow and James Rapine, man, they got a tough job to do right now. I ain't gonna feel sorry for them because they do a great job of it. But we're gonna talk about Trey Hendrickson, and the question still remains: what's wrong with the Bengals? It's probably the same damn thing we said was wrong with them last week. But we'll discuss that and more here in just a second on Locked On NFL. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. Their NBA playoffs is something else, man. Teams getting beat you didn't even think was going to get beat. It's in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a time to get in on the action better than right now for the NBA. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same game parlays, fans have way more than ever, a lot more reasons and a lot more information to make them smart, and they can win big because of it. I'm telling you, you better put your money on Ant-Man. Anthony Edwards is the real deal. And everybody's looking forward to him getting to the finals and going up against SGA one-on-one. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we're running it down here on Locked On NFL, talking about a very, very familiar subject. Trey Hendrickson popped up at mini camp yesterday for the Bengals. He didn't pop up to play. He wasn't about playing. He was about business. I didn't say business. I said business. Listen to the boys from Locked On Bengals talk about Trey and his showing up at Bengals camp.
Trey Hendrickson made a surprise appearance for the Cincinnati Bengals offseason program, but it wasn't to practice. It was to air it out. Let's dive in to the Trey Hendrickson remarks today. First off, a surprise that he shows up, that he's at Paycor at all. He walks out to practice in a polo shirt and some pants, obviously not participating in the practice, and then decides, or the team decides, I think more likely, that he's going to talk to the media on the field, on the practice field, which from an observer perspective who wasn't there today was a wild sequence of events.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to hear from Trey today. Obviously, we saw his statement yesterday. He's frustrated and really frustrated. I think that part of it's the narrative element of it, a big part of it. Wanted to clear the air, as you said, wanted to make things about as clear as possible. And we can dissect all of that. He wants to make it clear, whether it came through or not, that, hey, this needs to be solved. There needs to be urgency. I don't know why there isn't urgency, but there needs to be urgency. We need to figure this out one way or another.
The Bengals don't care that you told them that they got something in their nose right in front of everybody. I think they purposely walk out and put stuff in their corner of their eye and their nose and then just present it to the public. They really just don't care, do they?
I mean, the thing about so it's weird that Trey Hendrickson showed up, talked to the media at practice and all that stuff. But like I think the thing to notice though is there's no backdrop when he's talking. If you watch the clips or if you see the photo, like there's no backdrop. This wasn't a Bengals thing. The Cincinnati Bengals didn't put him out there and say, "Hey Trey, you're going to talk to the media today." This is a Trey Hendrickson thing, and
good.
Like if the players want to talk to the media, PR can't tell them no. PR can advise them, like, "Hey, it might not be a great idea. Hey, coach wouldn't appreciate it. Hey, GM wouldn't appreciate it." But at the end of the day, if the player wants to talk, player's going to talk. Yep. That's the bottom line. I mean, we've seen it. You see it in locker rooms every weekend where PR, a little bit behind the curtains for fans who don't know this, but you see locker room scrums, everybody's around a guy, usually a star player, like, hey, Travis, what about that touchdown catch? And da-da-da-da. And then you might hear sometimes PR says, hey, last question, because they're trying to protect the player's time,
You're
right?
shielding them, right? Correct.
Right. And what happens a lot of times with especially with those star players is you get that last question in, most of the scrum dissipates, but there's always kind of a reporter or two that maybe has a little bit of rapport with that player. They hang around and they kind of talk. And look, unless the player gives them the signal of like, hey, I don't want to talk to this dude or this dudette right now, pretty much leave him alone because the player's a grown man. The player's going to make the decision. Trey Hendrickson went there for the purpose of saying everything that he said to the media, to the Cincinnati Bengals media. And look, I'm paying close attention to it because Commanders fans want to see Trey Hendrickson playing for the Commanders this year.
Absolutely.
But Trey Hendrickson is after one thing and one thing only. The same thing that every player in the NFL wants. Money, yes, but what does money bring you? Security. He wants security. From my understanding, this man has no guaranteed money left on this current contract. If he has any guaranteed money, it's not a lot of guaranteed money. So don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there's no guaranteed money left on the contract. Now, he's due $21 million this year, but that's if he plays every game. That's if he hits all of his incentives, etc. He gets injured in week 2 and misses the rest of the year. He's out the rest of that money that he can't earn from those play time incentives. That's a big deal for a player, especially a player like we all talk about. He's in his 30s. Like, this is the downhill. Well, guess what? That's more of a reason he wants security, right? Like, the reason you're saying he shouldn't get security is the reason that he wants security. So, there's a stalemate going on here. I'm not a big fan of things being handled in the public court, right? Because I think these things need to be held behind the scenes. However, if a player gets to a point with an organization where they feel like, I'm no longer being heard, I'm no longer being respected, this is no longer being beneficial, they have one of two choices: be quiet and swallow it, and eventually you're just going to cave, or go public. And now your fans are going to put pressure on you. The media is going to put pressure on you because every time Zach Taylor speaks, he's going to get asked about it. Every time Joe Burrow speaks, he's going to get asked about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the Bengals have an organizational issue going on here, Wade, because they also have 2 pass rushers that are not practicing as rookies until they get their deals set.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
I don't know what is going on with Cincinnati, but that is not usual, especially for a not, like, I remember Joey Bosa did that with the Chargers, right? Like, he was like, I'm not practicing until my deal gets done.
And I understood that one because he had certain offset language. Well,
right.
The Bosa thing, the Bosa thing was because when he came out of college, when you come out of college, the year prior's taxes where you reside. So because he was a student, his home of record was still Florida, where they don't have state income taxes. So he wanted his bonus up front. They wanted to defer it. And if they deferred it, then that means he would have to pay California taxes. So he didn't want to do that because he wanted to still take advantage of being a student. But I get your point, man. And the thing with them, and I probably didn't set it up good enough, when I talked about them having crust in their eyes and corner mouth, what it is you have forced, because of your organizational issues, you forced a classy, productive, still in his prime ball player that should be the poster child for your organization. You forced him to act outside of his character and do stuff like this. And that's the thing with the Bengals to me. They just don't care. And normally this would hurt an organization. You think the Bengals really give a damn that Trey Hendrickson is embarrassing them? No, they're a walking embarrassment themselves. The thing that you mentioned with the rookie, I talked about it yesterday. And now we get this. It's every single day when the Bengals are out in the public, they're always out there and they dragging tissue under their shoe. And it's just like at some point you got to stop being an embarrassment.
Yep. Well, and the part that not a lot of people were talking about, but that stood out to me from Trey's comments, Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, Trey Hendrickson is out here publicly saying, I'm not getting any communication from the team as to moving forward and how we're going to resolve this situation. Zach Taylor takes it upon himself to text his star defensive player. All this stuff. And what does he say? He doesn't say, hey, buddy, hang in there. We'll get this, hopefully we get this thing done. Hey, man, I'm in your corner. No, what he says is, hey, bro, in more than 30 days at the time of the text, in more than 30 days, there's a mandatory minicamp coming in. Just so you know, if you don't show up in that next 30 days, you're going to get fined. So this dude's already going through it. He's already at odds with the organization. And your thought process is, you know what? Let me throw a little bit of salt in that wound and let him know that in 30 days, there's a lot of things that can happen in 30 days. 30 days, I'm going to let you know now, you're going to get fined by me Like, I don't understand the thought process behind, like, we're human beings, man. You can tell him 7 days out. You can tell him 5 days out. Hey, dude, like, I know you don't have your deal yet, but we need you. And if you're not here, we're going to have to fine you. Just want to let you know. But to tell that man that 30 days out, you're absolutely trying to pressure him into accepting the deal that he doesn't want to accept. That he's already made very clear. I'm not accepting the deal that's on the table. You need to come a little bit better. Man, like you said, I don't know if they don't care or they're too dumb to know what it is they're doing is wrong.
It's probably a little bit of both, to be honest with you, David. If you want to talk about teams that you expect this from, you expect bad stuff from teams that don't make the playoffs. We're going to talk about two of those teams in just a second here with their quarterback situations, the Titans and the Browns, here on Locked On NFL. We've been talking about schedules, how teams are going to start the season. We've also been talking about rookie quarterbacks, how they've been looking. Cam Ward is the man. He should be the man. He's the best quarterback in Tennessee. He was the best quarterback in this draft. They're going to build everything around him. And they got a whole big, tough start against the Denver Broncos. Tyler Rowland's going to talk about it right now.
The Tennessee Titans schedule drops on Wednesday, but according to a source, we already know who the Titans will play week 1, and it sounds like it's the Denver Broncos. It'll be a 4:00 game over in Denver. I got to tell you, I think this is an incredibly difficult first game for the Tennessee Titans. This is one of the worst options that I saw on the schedule for a week 1 opener for Cam Ward to go to Denver against a good Broncos team in your first career game. Not to mention, the Denver Broncos have a historic, and I mean historic, home field advantage in the early months of the season. So in the altitude, the elevation, all of that, I got to tell you, no matter what happens this offseason, I'm going to have a hard time expecting the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward to win week 1 against the Denver Broncos. But if Cam Ward goes in and does that, we'll know we're on to something.
Slow down, Tyler. What you talking about, man? Y'all cooking with grease, huh? If he look, I don't expect them to win. I don't care where they play. I don't care who they play. They're picked number 1 overall for a reason.
Yeah.
But he makes a good point. It could have been a little easier. That's a hard game for any rookie because Sean Payton got that defense playing well.
I mean, okay, yeah. Like, give credit to Sean Payton. He's got the Broncos doing things that people didn't expect the Broncos to be doing this last year, right? Making the playoffs, all that stuff and everything. But look at the Titans schedule too. Like the Tennessee Titans, like the easiest part of the Tennessee Titans schedule.
Ease up. They got 2 tough games against a certain team that wears teal.
Well, but that's what. So the easiest. So let me finish. The easiest part of the Tennessee Titans schedule is that they play in the AFC South. However, who's the worst team in the AFC South? The Tennessee Titans, which means every team in the AFC South, which would be the best part of your schedule, is better than you.
Mm-hmm.
The Arizona Cardinals, I would say outside of the division matchups, the Arizona Cardinals are probably the worst team that they face this year, and you're going on the road to face them. So that makes it a little more difficult, and I would say the Cardinals are probably better. I mean, honestly, like when you're picking number 1 overall, and not only when you're picking number 1 overall, when you earned the number 1 overall pick, every matchup is tough, man. Like there's not a game on their schedule where you go week 1, you go, oh man, that's a win. That's a Cam Ward win right there. Like, no, bro, like what are you talking about? So I get what you're saying, Tyler. I mean, it doesn't have to be a playoff team, right? At least the Cardinals aren't a playoff team, stuff like that. But I get what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, I think that like the Tennessee Titans, are they going to be this year's Washington Commanders? The Washington Commanders were last year's Houston Texans. You know what I mean? Like, are they going to be this year's Washington Commanders? Nah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? At least the Washington Commanders, it is possible. But even last year, like even being unbiased and just looking at what the Commanders have done to their roster, their over/under was 6.5 games last year. I was like, can this Commanders team win 7 games? Yeah, that Commanders team can win 7 games. Can this Tennessee Titans team win 7 games in this schedule? Look, can they beat the Colts twice? Yeah. Can they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars twice? No. Can they beat the Houston Texans twice? No. So I think you might get, if you get 4 wins in the division, that's a really good year for you. And the rest of these teams, maybe the Cardinals, that's 5. I give you 5 wins if you're the Tennessee Titans. Like, you're off the top of my head. So nobody's really expecting much out of you. But yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, good luck to you, buddy. Hopefully they gave you at least enough protection so that you don't get David Card out there, or Sam Howell out there
Right.
for the more recent NFL audience.
Right.
But yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see how Cam Ward's career progresses and what the Titans do to help him out.
Now, to his credit, I will tell you this. I always warn Jaguar fans when they look at the schedule. I say, if you look at the schedule, I want you to make your travel plans. I want you to know where you're going to be in October and November, which games you're going to go to, based on who you want to see them play. And most of the time, it's early in the year, right? Because you want to tentatively kind of wait on those late games, especially when you're a team that hasn't traditionally been good. I always say, watch out, man, because I'll tell you, you use Washington as an example. And that was one of the examples I was going to use, because on paper, that looked like an easy game. It was a very difficult game for anybody last year, right? But another team I'll use is the Patriots. And the Patriots didn't win that many games, but they won one in opening week that kept the Bengals from going to the playoffs. And we said that too. We were like, they lost to who? And is that game going to bite them in the butt? They won their last game of the season, and guess what happened? They still sat at home because they were one game away from getting into the playoffs. So anything can actually happen.
They paid Jamar and T, so they're good.
They
don't need Trey.
Yeah, I actually think Cleveland is the worst team in the NFL still on paper, because we don't know who their quarterback is. Nice little battle going up between Dylan Gabriel and Shadeur Sanders. Kenny Pickett might still be the man, but I want you to hear Spencer German and his guests talk about what they saw out of the two rookies in minicamp.
And I want to start with the quarterback position, because it's the thing that everybody is obviously watching, us included. What stood out the most to you about Dylan Gabriel and Shadeur Sanders during rookie minicamp this past weekend?
Yeah, to me, I like to see a quarterback throw in person myself. And Coach Kevin Stefanski talked about how that's an important step in the process for him, too. And obviously, he saw those guys throw before the draft. But last weekend at rookie camp was the first time I got to see him. And nothing I didn't expect. I knew both guys threw it well, in my opinion. I know there were questions about Shadeur Sanders' arm strength. I didn't have those questions after watching a bunch of his game tape from, Colorado. I thought he made enough throws. Yes, there's some balls that come out of his hand wobbly. You saw that at the pro day in Colorado. You saw it at mini camp. Most of them are the shorter throws. Like the throws a little flat. Sometimes they don't come out with the tightest spiral. But when he needs to make a deep throw, he can do it. We saw plenty of examples of that. I think the intermediate game, his arm is plenty big. I saw that in Colorado and again in Berea over the weekend, where if he needs to, put zip on the ball on a tough dig route, he can do it. So, and Dylan Gabriel, the ball comes out really clean for the most part. It's good spin. He throws over the top, which you need to when you're the size that he is. So,
all right. So here's my deal. I've seen quarterbacks drafted twice. I grew up pulling for the team that you cover, and I remember Heath Shuler got picked, and then they picked Gus Frerotte in the 7th round. Frerotte had a better career. And I remember when Shuler wasn't playing well, they kept calling for Gus Frerotte. I saw again when they got RG3, and he took the league by storm, was rookie of the year. But the next year when he was banged up, Kirk Cousins was the dude that was there, and people kept clamoring for Kirk Cousins. The backup quarterback is always, in a lot of situations, the most popular player on the team, especially when the first guy isn't playing well. I don't mind Cleveland, who has had terrible luck at quarterbacks. And it's not even luck. They just had terrible misfortune at quarterback. And a lot of it has been their own. I don't mind them double dipping and getting 2 day 3 quarterbacks, or a day 2 and a day 3 quarterback. I just think the order that you got them screwed this up for Dylan Gabriel, because there's no way on earth with Shadeur and how he is. I think Dylan Gabriel's in trouble in terms of being a starter for Cleveland. I think Shadeur's going to win that job.
I mean, yeah, Dylan Gabriel, man. I feel, of all the players that got drafted this year, I feel worse for Dylan Gabriel
than anybody.
That man's catching strays that he does not deserve, that he did not, it's not like Dylan Gabriel was out here calling teams saying, hey, you need to take me over Shadeur. You need to take me over Shadeur. Like, Dylan Gabriel did not create this situation. He does not deserve any of the flack, yet he's getting all of the flack. Every time the Cleveland Browns post a video or a picture of Shadeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel catches strays. But how about this, bro? If I were to tell you 5 years ago that 5 years from then, the AFC North would have 3 first-round pick quarterbacks, would have a defending Big Ten championship quarterback rookie, and have arguably a rookie that is one of the most entertaining electric quarterbacks entering the league as a new player, you would be like, man, the AFC North has some good quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. That's just the Cleveland Browns. That's just the Cleveland Browns roster. They got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson, Shadeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel. Like, there's the old saying: if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. These guys got 5. They got 5 quarterbacks. I mean, look, honestly, like I kind of look at this and I'm like, if this team has an injured quarterback, trade him Kenny Pickett. Then that team gets an injured quarterback, trade him Dylan Gabriel. You're probably not going to get, maybe you get a 3rd round pick from them. That would be a compensatory pick. One of these teams that knows they got a minority head coach or minority GM, hire compensatory, come and get that pick from them and let Dylan Gabriel move on with his career, because it's going to be, it's just kind of toxic, to be quite honest with you. But it's going to be interesting to watch, man, because I think 3 years from now, obviously, only one of these dudes is going to be standing. Which one it is, it's not going to be Joe. I don't think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. I do think it's going to be Shadeur Sanders, like you said, but only one of them is going to be standing. So it'll be interesting to see which one it is.
No doubt about it. If you need to learn about all of these teams, since they got so many people on their rosters, and every team has 20 undrafted free agents, there's no better place than Locked On NFL Scouting, because Joe Marino and Kyle Krabs will make you smarter about the National Football League if you just listen to this show. They can do a deep dive on all of these rosters and all of these players because they know them all. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL Scouting and make it your second listen. David and I got to run, man, but we appreciate you spending 31 minutes and 30 seconds with us today. Have fun with Locked On NFL in the AM with Tyler Rowland, and we'll be back with more topics. David's going to go and capture the world up there with Locked On Commanders. I'm going to try to do the same thing with Locked On Jaguars. Make sure you tap in to all of the Locked On Podcast Network. For Tony Wiggins, David Harrison, we'll see you later.